Hello, we are on the start of the new series. This is my Bridgerton series. It's gonna be like pseudo-historical. So I'm gonna do kind of historical undergarments, but I'm not really gonna do like the full history of everything and like the actual gown itself. It's gonna be historical-esque. I'm also gonna be making a costume for Micah. We're going to the Bridgerton, okay, hello?
You want help?
We're gonna be going to that Bridgerton Ball event that's been happening in various cities, and I wanted to make us matching costumes. They're gonna be like coordinating, not really matching, but I know that all of my previous projects have also been kind of like historical fantasy style, and I've done like the really historical methods for everything. But because Bridgerton is so fantastical, I really want to kind of lean into like the fun fantasy Gossip Girl but Regency kind of feeling of it, rather than going for like the full historical exploration. I think I do want to do kind of a historical exploration of Regency in the future. That this is not going to be that series. So this is just going to be my like fun throw some sparkles on a costume and make some fun stays kind of project, and make something for Micah. I have never made anything for Micah on this channel. I've made a suit for him in the past for grad school, and that went fairly well, but I have never made anything for him that is this complex without the guidance of one of my professors. So you guys will get to see the fitting process where I fit somebody else instead of myself. But for this first video, I'm going to be making the chemise since that is the base layer for everything, and I'm going to be using Mariah Pattie's video on how to draft your own shift pattern, but we'll get to that later because I wanted to show you guys my bullet journal. Okay, so this is my bullet journal. She is very chunky because I put a lot of stuff in there. I've got my Bridgerton mood board here. This is what I showed you guys when I did my fabric shopping in LA, fabric haul kind of thing. In that video, I was just kind of looking for fabrics that would be appropriate for this. So to prep for that trip going out to LA to go fabric shopping, I made a Pinterest board, and then I printed out the pictures that I was most drawn to. So I was really drawn to these two different styles. The light chiffon, airy kind of stuff that has more of the bejeweled like beading stuff. And the other style is more of a lace overlay. I ended up being able to find the lace overlay a lot easier, so I decided to go with that design. So about half of this mood board no longer really matters to me, but it was a good start. And then because Micah also helps me when I go fabric shopping, it gives him a really good visual reference of what to look for, because just telling him what to look for, like, he's not gonna really understand what I mean when I say I want chiffon or satin or whatever. He doesn't really know entirely what he's looking for with those terms. So having a visual aid helps him, it helps myself, it helps when the fabric store shop people are like, what are you looking for? Then I can say, this is the general vibe. I also have my project pages. So these are kind of far set back because it was a few months between when I went fabric shopping and when I actually started on this project. So this is my project page for my shift. So for project pages, I do like some washi tape because it makes it pretty, and I try to do the same washi tape on all of the project pages just to keep everything very coherent. But I will print off my reference images. This is kind of what I want the shift to look like. It's got a cute puff sleeve and like a gathered neckline. So this is what I'm trying to emulate, and it's easier if I have a like hard copy of it that I can just flip to, rather than trying to find it on my computer every time. My computer is a mess. You don't want to see how many tabs I have open. First and foremost, I will get pictures of extant garments that I would like to emulate. Then I get pictures of any detailing that I would like to do. So I found this embroidery detailing. Don't know if I'll be recreating this exactly, if it'll be a little bit different, but this is the general feeling of what I want. So I like to keep that also with my inspiration from the extant garment. So that way, whenever I'm working on this, I can just refer back to it. I've already started looking at the Mariah Pattie video. So with that, I noted what measurements I need from her instructions. I wrote them all down and I took those measurements. Write down all of my information here. I will be referring to her YouTube video frequently while I am patterning this, so I didn't write all that information down, but because I will just need to be able to refer to the measurements quickly, I've written that all down. So this has all of my information that I need to make my shift. It makes it so that it's all in one place and I don't have to go looking through 100 tabs to find it. I've also got this one for my petticoat and for my stays. I haven't really started on these yet, so I'm not entirely sure. For this one, I have an example of accent stays, and then I also have the pattern that I'm going to be using. So these two images are from Red Threaded's website. These are pictures of her Regency short stays. So this is exactly what they will look like in terms of pattern. Having the extant picture from a museum gives me kind of like yes, this is something that exists. It looks fairly similar to this. Obviously, it doesn't look exactly the same. This looks a bit more modern with its metal eyelets. But this is a good example for showing that this kind of garment is based in reality. So as I work on more garments, this will get more and more filled up, and by the end of it, I will have a full section of all of my Bridgerton stuff. I did the same thing for Frau as well, so I have my initial reference here. Serves the same purpose as the mood board did for Bridgerton because I had a concrete design here. I took all of Sakizo's images that I could find of this character from online, and I printed them out and I put them in this book. That meant like going through her official art or going through her Instagram, and I just kind of put them all in one place. For the shift, it's kind of the same thing where I mark which pattern I'm planning on using and then techniques I need to look up and where I can look that up. Something I didn't do for the current project is usually I will write where I found this image and what time period and original source. Same with this, I'm looking for kind of extant examples that will back up the pattern that I found and have decided to use. So I just kind of do that for everything. Some things are more complex where they need a little bit more like math or everything, so I leave a space where I can do all of that math. The farthingale obviously needed a lot of math because it's a very like structural garment, whereas this didn't really need any math because I was following a pattern. My bullet journal just kind of serves as a place where I can keep all of my reference images to refer to really easily and where I can kind of just brain dump everything that I might need. So I have all of my notes, I have all of my images, everything just kind of lives in here. If you'd like a more in-depth bullet journal tour, then let me know. I'm a very visual person, so it helps me a lot to have things in front of me and also to be able to like have it and touch it. That's a big thing for me, is like having it right in front of me rather than on my computer where like the screen goes black or I have to dig through tabs. Like this really just helps me keep everything super organized. So that's it, and we can start talking about the pattern now. Let's go. For the most part, I'm going to be following Mariah Pattie's how to draft a shift pattern video, so I'm not going to go through every single step because her video already explains all of that, but I am going to do all of it on camera, and then I will talk through a little bit how I'm altering it to make it fit the specific shift that I want to be making. So that's the plan. I did take my measurements for this, and they're not like my measurements, they're the measurements that I want for the shift. So that's kind of what you need for this. The length, this is a pretty floor length shift, so I want it to be 53 inches. That's from shoulder to floor, and we'll see if that's too long in the fitting. The shoulder width, my shoulders are 15 inches wide, doubling that would be 30 inches, but I don't really want the thing to, like, I don't want the top of the shift to be really bulky. So I'm gonna make my top width 20 inches. That should give me plenty of space to get around my bust, and that, I think that should be fine. The strap width is going to be 2 inches. All I did for that specifically was to make sure that it is wider than my stays straps. The coutil is a less comfortable material than the cotton muslin that I'm going to be using for the shift, so just so it doesn't rub at all, it has plenty of space to be not right on my skin. If it lands on my skin anyways, it's not a big deal. Neckline depth is the one that I'm a little bit unsure of, but we'll figure out if that's okay in the fitting. That's 10 inches. The back neckline depth is a little bit shorter, 8 inches. Both of those might go lower just because the Bridgerton style is to be very low cut, so this might be lower. Sleeves, I wanted those cute little puff sleeves, so those are going to be a little bit larger than they would be if this was just like a straight sleeve series. And that's it. So we're going to get started now. Okay, so that's my base pattern, and then for the rest of the pattern, the changes that I'm going to make are to change the straps mostly. So I added gore patterns. If I have a leftover square of fabric, I'll probably just cut that and use that as triangles, but in the event that I don't have a nice easy square of fabric to use, then I have a pattern that's easy to just slap on the fabric and cut that. So there are definitely gores in this petticoat. You can see them from the front view, but you can't really see them from the back view, which leads me to believe that maybe the back part of this shift is a little bit wider than the front part. So I've made it so that it's a 30-inch wide rectangle, so it doesn't taper up at the top like the front piece does. And it's gonna be 43 by 30 because I'm not adding straps to the back. You can see in the back that it's got a seam where the strap attaches and that it's just a flat like line at the very top of the back piece where the strap attaches. So just gonna do a rectangle for the back. That makes cutting a little bit easier anyways. For the front, the straps are going to have to be a separate piece because they go up maybe about 2 to 3 inches and then they're seamed. Probably because it saved fabric to not do the whole strap like all the way up. This is kind of like a waste of fabric. I'm going to take the depth of the neckline for the back piece and make a 2-inch wide strap. Going to be 2 inches by 8 inches because that was the depth that I wanted for the neck piece. And that's going to be the back strap. And then I'm just gonna tape that directly to this. So because it looks like it's about 2 inches up, but it is slightly gathered, I'm gonna do 2.5 inches. Extend this line all the way over here and then measure up 2.5 inches. Just gonna chop this off. So that should give us the length of the strap we need to get over the shoulder from where this ends up to where the back become like where it meets the back. Same thing on this side, just so I can make sure they're even. And that's it. Okay, first fitting for the Bridgerton series, and I think that this looks really cute. Get my reference image while I'm doing this, and I want to just show you guys that up close a little bit. So I'm going to get a little closer to the camera, and I think that it looks really good. There's a little part right here where I didn't like fully do the stitching all the way down. That's why it's bubbling a little bit here. So it won't be like that in the actual thing. It will actually be secure. I'm also thinking that because this has such sharp corners in the back kind of meets the strap at a very right angle. I'm thinking that I'm going to need to do an elastic casing or a drawstring casing rather than just folding it under because of how these seams meet, but I think that's okay. In the photo of this on the back view, the seam where the strap meets the back is kind of slanted, and I was like, oh, I don't know if that'll actually work because this is a straight seam, but it just does it. That's just how that works out, I guess. Yeah, so I guess correctly, and that is just a straight seam from the strap to the back, so that's cool. I was worried we're gonna have a lot of gathering up here, but it isn't. It's pretty straight, so that's good. And then all the gathering is happening at the same places as the extant chemise, so hooray, that's great. Only qualm that I'm having right now is the sleeves. They're not sitting quite at the right place, and I think mostly that's because drawstring doesn't like to sit correctly. Don't know how this would have looked on an actual person. This is on a mannequin and it's probably fixed in place somehow so that it doesn't move, but I'm a person and I move around, so where I had put these at the beginning before actually turning the camera on, I had pushed it all up so it made this like cute little cap sleeve like this, right? But obviously it's a drawstring and not an elastic, and I move because I am a human, so it's not staying put. I think when I'm nice and still and don't move at all, then yeah, it'll stay put, but I am gonna have to move around because, you know, that's how life works. So I think instead of keeping this as a drawstring, I'm gonna stick an elastic in it instead, and it'll make it for one, more comfortable, because as the drawstring goes, like, I have to basically take this all off to retie it, because, like, you know, I can't like T-Rex my arms into the right position. So I have to take the whole sleeve off to retie the drawstring, which, I don't know, it's very inconvenient. It also, if I get it tied too tight, it hurts to wear it because it's too tight. If it's too loose, it just slips down. So I think it'll be easier if it's an elastic. It's not historically accurate, but this is a costume, and I want convenience in my life. The back is also really cute. I think that it's a good amount of gathered. I think I have a really good amount of fullness in this, that it looks like the extant chemise. Let me grab a chair. So there's a pretty good amount of fullness in here. The hem is not up at all, not that you can see it. I think it's good. Awesome. Do you want to say hi? Hello. Do you say hello? My sweet girl. Okay, down you go. Okay, so the hem is a little bit above ankle length, and I haven't actually put a hem up yet, so this is just raw edge, and I probably will just give it a narrow rolled hem once I even this all out, because it's definitely not even. There are parts of this that just like they didn't match up correctly, but that's to be expected because I was just doing rectangles and stuff. I wasn't doing like any truing of this pattern. So I will even out this hem, and then I'm gonna do a narrow rolled hem. And I think that's it. This is so comfortable. I wanna make another one. Oh, also the like height of the bust I think is good. I don't want it too high because I do want like that Bridgerton cleavagey look. We'll see how it looks once I get the stays on, but I think that this will be a good height. Like, it's not too low, but it's also not too high because I don't want to like nip slip myself. Great, successful fitting. Let's move on to alterations. In order to make this whole chemise, I'm gonna have to take this all apart and restitch it because I did stitch it with a basting stitch, and I want to make sure that it has very secure seams, but I'm gonna be doing a flat felt stitch for every seam. But that's pretty much it. Those are the only changes I'm gonna make. I need to even out the hem and actually do the hem, and yeah, this will be a quick project, except for the embroidery. So because this is such a simple shift, I really wanted to do some embroidery and like some eyelet details. And I'm thinking either just around the neckline or just around the hem. I don't want this to turn into too complicated a project. I would like to have some nice time to sit and embroider things while I listen to an audiobook or watch TV or something. Just do like a cute little detail that makes this more my own thing rather than the same shift that everybody has, you know. So that's the plan. So let's go take this part and put it back together. that the chemise is made, I wanted to do a cute little embroidery detail so it's not just like a plain chemise. I had originally thought that maybe I wanted to do it around the hem, but the hem is really big, and also like then all of my hard work on this embroidery won't be as visible, so I'm thinking around the neckline. I might run into a little bit of problems with the gathering, but I'll just take the drawstring out while I'm embroidering this. It'll make it easier. And it's pretty much the same as what my inspiration is, except it's a little bit more spread out so that I don't have to do so much. And also, like, I think it looks a little bit more elegant when it's a smooth kind of like spread out line rather than this really compacted line like that. So personal taste. All I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna mark it on the front here, and I'm gonna do it really, really lightly so my pencil marks don't stick around, but I'm just gonna draw on it with my mechanical pencil and then I'll stitch right over it. So I'm gonna take this drawstring out now, even though it was a pain to get in there. Okay, so now that it's all flat, it'll be a little easier to draw everything and also easier to embroider everything. So I had thought about doing this with like a ruler and making it very precise, but I think that I want it to look more like it was done by hand. I feel like if I do it with a ruler, it'll look a little bit too mechanical. So I want it to look like it was hand done. I think that this shift was a success. I just followed the Mariah Pattie video and I think it worked out really well. I think she's got a really good video on how to make a shift, or like how to put together a pattern for a shift. So 10 out of 10 would recommend. I think this turned out really cute and I'm just like generally really happy with it. I was expecting that it would turn out like okay, like it would just be a shift, cool, but it turned out much cuter than I thought, so I'm really happy with it. The amount of flare that I got is really good. I like the sleeves a lot. I think that replacing it with elastic was a good call because it now keeps the cute puff without sliding down my arm like having a drawstring would. The amount of gathering that I have up here, and I think the pattern that I guessed at for what the extant chemise was, I think I guessed pretty well. It looks pretty much like it, I think. I don't know, let me know what you guys think. And then lastly, the embroidery. I'm really glad that I ended up going with that detail. I was considering not doing it because I really just wanted to get this done and keep moving with the project, but I was like, but a plain shift is kind of boring and I feel like I should add something a little bit more exciting to it. So it's like, this is simple and it won't take me very long. It only took me about 2 days, and that was kind of 2 distracted days of like watching YouTube and like doing some other stuff. So it was pretty quick. I did try out 2 different kinds of embroidery. So let me see if I can get really close to this camera. Okay, so I ultimately went with like a satin stitch. So I did just a straight running stitch as my underlay, and then I did a satin stitch over top of it. So I went over the leaves and across the like stem part with a satin stitch, and then these are just little eyelets that have a whip stitch going around. There's one repeat of the motif where I was trying something different, so let me see if I can find it. Okay, I slid this around, so now I'm wearing it backwards technically. So here I did a slightly different stitch for the leaves and the stem. I don't really know what it's called, a herringbone or something for the leaves, and then I did a back stitch or something. I am not really familiar with embroidery terms, so sorry about that. But this is what I did for my first try, and I actually like how this looks better personally for my own taste. However, I thought about it and I looked at more of the extant resources, and this just, it looks really modern. Like, this looks like modern embroidery, whereas doing all of the satin stitch kind of stuff looks more Regency period-esque. So I ultimately decided that I did not want to do this. I wanted to do this one. This is just here as a remnant of, I didn't want to take it out, and like a reminder that, you know, I tried something different and it didn't work out, or it wasn't right for this project, but it was still cute, so I just left it there. Maybe I'll do it on a different shift some other time, but it's not what I wanted for this project. So I went with the one that I thought was a little bit less pretty personally, but fit the project more. So, you know. Yeah, I also like the length. I think it's a cute length. You can't see it while I'm wearing it right now, but it's like a little bit above the ankle length, so it's long enough that it's very good coverage, I guess, but it's not so long that I trip on it, so that's nice. It won't really matter once I have a petticoat. The petticoat will be very long, so that will trip me. But I've been trying to expand just generally my like fantasy basics, I guess, and this is not, I don't know, this is like pseudo fantasy. Bridgerton's not really historical, but it's not quite fantasy, so I've been trying to expand my fantasy basics of stuff that I can wear under like a fairy costume or a princess dress or something, with like a corset or stays or something. So that was kind of my ulterior motive for making this, and I wanted it to be kind of long so I could have the lost princess running through the woods kind of vibe. Yeah, so that's it. There's not much to discuss because this was a pretty simple project, so hopefully that's good enough for you guys. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you liked the other embroidery better, I guess let me know. And then if you want to see the rest of this project, I think we're doing the stays next, so that's exciting. But if you want to see the rest of this project, you want to see other things that I work on in the future, then please subscribe. Alright, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye! Baby, do you want to say bye? Oh, my sweet girl. She says, no, Mom. I've been holding her too much today. You're so cute. All right.